In order to determine if two ratios are equivalent, there are a few ways that we can do it. One of the ways is that we can take our two ratios, which in this case are 2/3 and 16/24, and we can see what would happen if we gave these ratios the same denominator. One of the ways we can ask the questions, are they equal, is we put the equal sign in with a question mark above, are they equal? So one of the ways we can do it is we can see, if I were to give these the same denominator, would these two ratios be equal? Okay, so these are pretty easy to give the same denominator because this has the denominator of 3 and this has a denominator of 24. So the lowest common denominator of these two is 24. And it's pretty easy to get these with a common denominator of 24 because all we have to do is take our fraction, our ratio, 2/3, and multiply the denominator by 8, and that will give us 24, so that it has the same denominator as our 16/24. We, of course, can't multiply the denominator by 8 just because we feel like it. We also have to multiply the numerator by 8. Why are we allowed to do this? Well, because multiplying by 8 over 8 is the same thing, whoops, is the same thing as multiplying by 1. 8 over 8, anything over itself really, is 1. So we're multiplying by 1, and multiplying by 1 doesn't change the value of the fraction. If you multiply by 1, you get the same number. So our numerator, 2 times 8 is 16. So because this value is 16 over 24, and our other value is 16 over 24, these are equivalent ratios. So that's one way to do it. But what if it wasn't so easy to find a common denominator? What if instead of 3 and 24, it was 3 and 25? You can find a common denominator for 3 and 25, but it's certainly not as easy. So let me show you using these same two fractions. I'm going to use 2/3 and 16/24. Another way that you can do it without finding a common denominator, and that is by cross multiplying. So what you do is you take the denominator from the first fraction and the numerator from the second fraction and multiply those two together. And you see, is that cross product equal to the other cross product? So the numerator of the first fraction times the denominator of the second fraction, 2 times 24. And so on the left side, 3 times 16 is 48. And on the right side, 2 times 24, also 48. And so because these two cross products are equal, that also tells us that these are equivalent ratios. So there are two different ways for us to answer this question. And so when you're answering this, you just pick whichever method seems easier at the time. Is it easier for us to find a common denominator and prove it that way? Or is it difficult to find a common denominator and so we do the cross products instead? Both methods are good ways to find out if we have equivalent ratios.